Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter on Venus Wisdom on a Venus Day. And this is a Venus Day and a Venus Hour. So Venus is in Pisces right now, and she's about to begin her conjunction with Neptune. So my ascendant is kind of like wrapped up between Neptune and Venus, and I'm glowing and glorious and happy in the at the oddest of times. So um, big gratitude to Venus. And the Venus wisdom on a Venus day for me, yes, and I also have Jupiter on my sun. So savor this glow. Um, the Venus day on a Venus wisdom on a Venus day for me is about this closing synodic cycle with Neptune. The Venus is already invisible, which means that we get the more ethereal, the more philosophical, the more spiritual facets and wisdoms of Venus. What it basically means is that you might not get your kick on in the relationship, in the physical right now. Again, this might be different for different people, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be seeing that. I mean, of course, you see like the energy, and actually, because of a technical difficulty, I'm having more videos, like visual videos, you know, and and that's just life. But it's kind of like a happy accident. So it doesn't mean you're not going to see kind of like the visual or the beauty of Venus or celebrate the beauty of Venus. It does mean that you focus more on the ethereal, on the inner, and allow that to kind of radiate through. So Venus in Pisces is already very ethereal. She's incredibly artistic. It is this tender experience of the perception of beauty that is welcomed. The perception of beauty is more permeable. That being said, there is also dreamlike quality, which is both kind of like the mythical. This is both the thing that is so lovely about Pisces. It is also that which is presence in its absence. And I call every synodic cycle as opening with Neptune, while Neptune is still in Pisces, the present in its absence. And so we had the Sun, we had a Mercury. Now we are heading for Venus to close a synodic cycle with Neptune. So, what is Venus? What does she rule? So, she rules women, sisterhood, beauty, um, both on the philosophical and on the physical. She rules the voice. She rules expression, artistic expression, sensuality, flowers, the garden. Okay, if you grow in a garden, so it's a Venusian place. Valuable scars, things that connect. She's basically connecting things. Fertility and the joy of sensuality. Okay, it's kind of like when you have sex, just to enjoy that, not necessarily trying to conceive, but also fertility. Um, Venus closing synodic cycle with Neptune is both having a sense of closure around all of these Venus themes as they relate to the dissolver of realities and the blender of worlds, which is Neptune. So with Neptune, all kind of things can vary from channeling and mediumship and being exposed to art of various eras, various times, various worlds, and various forms that are even, you can look at the same thing and have completely different experiences. This is the Venus Neptune as well. But on an experiential, on a sensual level. It can range from that to have your dreams manifested, and experiences that range on the isolated to going viral. Okay, so elated states to kind of like the absence of. So, what do you want to pay attention as we approach this time? And it's going to be with the invisible Venus, so it's going to be very more present in its absence, the longing for relation, okay? The longing for artistic expression. Even, if I think about how I kind of greeted the drop of, Beyonce's latest album, and I was like, this is so beautiful, and how I'm missing, how I'm longing the richness of the art and expression of music without when the kind of like the peterings and all the corruption that is associated with any type of kind of higher rank, and virally successful. And so it's like, oh, how I'm longing for music that is purified and cleansed from the practice of expendable children, and trafficking, and sex slavery and stuff like that. Um, and this is very much a Venus Neptune. It's already a Venus Neptune. Hey, this thing is present. It's very beautiful. It's very much an a big opus of an artist that we're living in the times that we've seen, and we can catch this from our YouTube without paying a cent, which is so amazing. And yet it meets us at this juncture where we're longing for the presence of this type of of music, of sharing, of richness, of expression, without having to be entangled in atrocities and stuff like that. And so while we have the manifestation of being able to touch at the finest forms of contemporary art, and contemporary is always mixing in the times, and and that be at the click of a mouse. The click of, it's not even a mouse. It's just like you open up an app and you can hear and you can listen. You don't even have to pay a cent to be included. And you can even, post a comment and talk to people. And how beautiful is that? And kind of have appreciation for that. And that is happening when we are already longing for, music purified and music cleansed from, atrocities and trafficking and kind of like MK Ultra stuff. But it's not only, it's just one name for these things. Venus Neptune is so much this type of thing. Something's being manifested. And it's important to also take the time and give appreciation for what we do see, okay, for what we do have. A lot of us can simply open up a camera and express ourselves into the mix, and this is Neptune timing, okay? This is a part of the fabric of reality, and with Neptune, a lot of times you can have something you recorded 15 years ago, 20 years ago, coming up, popping up, and receiving a life form that is completely different. It's happened to me with on the low with Sugar Free Lemonade and Flying Bombardier. So Sugar Free Lemonade kind of like retracted from the view, and then Flying Bombardier came big time and addressed things that I was not even aware of while writing Sugar Free Lemonade. And it's not like completely done yet. So but with Neptune, we're not even talking about a 5-year cycle or a 7-year cycle or 10-year cycle. We're talking about even 20 years and even centuries. So with Venus, it is art, is expression, is beauty, and we're going to be very much aware of our longings, because this is what this synodic cycle does. This is being aware of our longings and what is missing right now, because we are manifesting it. Okay, so we're closing a cycle, so something is manifested, and we are opening a new cycle. So there's a new cycle of longing and manifestation when it comes to Venusian things. Okay, and it is the authentic essence of longing. And so with Neptune is so important to give in to the longing, give in to the presence of the missing, and the missing and absent in its presence. This is why it's also such a big cycle. Ooh, we can give reverence to whistleblowers, to spies, to leakers of information, to those who are missing, to those who are no longer and have exposed things. Neptune is also about big exposure, deep mysteries going viral as well. And at the same time, what is made impossible to ignore is the absence of something. And with Venus invisible, we are even more aware of this absence and of this longing. And this is a psychic longing, it's a spiritual longing, it's a philosophical longing. So we're going to be longing for even philosophical discourses about morality, values, and beauty. This is also values. We're going to be longing for yes, also a certain type of, let's say, relations, or for some people, women. Okay, something's going to make itself present in its absence, and allowing this cycle of longing to take place and being with the longing. Grief can arise, tears can arise, but also the hidden wealth. Okay, the dreams can arise, love can arise, and on a psychic level, the experience of the longing kind of becoming dissolving into the presence of something, and it's going to be felt on an experiential, a psychic level, experiential level, whether it's music or beauty or relations. Neptune, Venus, kind of like Neptune, Jupiter, or Neptune, even Mars, can give you the presence of something. You feel the presence of something that is not currently present. So it could be a connection with people that have passed away, but also connection with people who are physically distant from you, or you even didn't meet. And that can give you um, awareness of an experience that you didn't think you could experience in those conditions. This is the essence of Neptune. Okay, Neptune is where it was a blind spot to you, that which you were looking for is just here in this form, and not in the forms that you were looking for it. So you have to remove your form of expectation or expectations of the form. And Venus is about form and about shape. Okay, so there are very, very interesting things. Venus Neptune can be definitely the grief for something that is missing. So it's very much like you could cry over the loss of a lover while feeling their presence, or you can break up from somebody while feeling their presence, or if God forbid you lost somebody or somebody dies, you could be grieving someone who's no longer, and then you see the omens, you see the presence of this person in your life. Even very fascinating things can happen around those themes. So if you are like in artists, you could see receive omens from artists, from musicians, from painters, from singers. You could be if you're an artist, you could be channeling art at this time. It may involve grief, loss, and separation, or a sense of kind of like a surrender of whatever, but something comes up, and you could be even discovering people that you didn't know through this type of experiences. Okay, when I do spirit, a lot of the spirit of matter charts that I get to look at um, are facilitated in that form of connection. Okay, so I would wake up with this. Okay, Van Nuno case is the same. I woke up and I saw. It was after I already wrote about Van Nuno, but it was seeing the word Shikma, which was the jail that he was at, and then I would get to look at the news and see there was an article about him and the day that he was released from jail, which was called Shikma. Um, and I also saw the numbers 6 and 9, and they were not like like the Brazilian, like the 16. It was not that kind of like the 69. It was like it's a birthday, and I'm like, what birthday? It was like, oh, this person is 69 years old. Um, so I never met this person, okay, but this is where the appreciation for you know, a chart or a life mission of someone can come about also in those ways. I think most charts that I did, I was called into maybe just the beginning after Feynman, just the beginning. I was just exploring the charts of people that I was looking at philosophically, and I was looking at them astrologically. But later it already began to be channeled. Okay, I would wake up, look at this chart, I would wake up, look at this chart, I would think about this chart, and it would always be either the moon triggering things, this chart coming into life, even if this person is no longer alive, a chart coming into life. I know there are already people where I know the moon is going to be hitting this degree. Even before I know the moon is on the degree, I think about the person. They are alive with me. This is very much the present in its absence. But this can also happen with living people. Um, and, uh, and this is a part of kind of like the Neptune Venus. And Neptune Venus can also be about values, about assets. So you could be longing for even material things. Although here I feel it's more like the genuine sense of connection. Like if you, let's say, want the car, it's not going to be about the car so much as about a certain myth that this car involves with, or a certain feeling that you get, or a certain something that you got around that material thing. It's more around the experience, and even the psychic energy to do with things than the actual stuff. So it's going to be very interesting, Venus Neptune. As always, yes, there usually is grief, tears, longing, some is missing. You're grieving something, you're looking for a certain essence in a certain form, and you're grieving the loss of your not being able to touch it. But I want you to think about looking at the horizon, because the joy of looking at the horizon comes from the very illusion of the horizon, where the sky supposedly meet the sea or whatever land you're looking at. And this is what creates the image. Okay, when you paint a picture, you're painting an illusion, and in this illusion the sky always meets the earth, which in real life this doesn't exist. Okay, it's touching infinity, and the experience of touching infinity is very real. That being said, as you go forward to meet the horizon, you're not actually meeting. Okay, and this is a part of the Neptunian experience. With Venus, it is about relations, it is about connecting things, it is about um, art, beauty, experiences. You could, for example, have a very beautiful image that you're like, I want to bring this into existence, and it comes out in a very different way. Um, and or you might not be able to express what you want to express so much, but then you run into some other form of expression where you do get to express things you didn't believe you would be able to say, to display, and so on. So that is the nature, the twilight zone nature of Neptune. And it does also mean dreams coming true. Okay, so certain dreams come true and certain new longings occur. Of course, then can be feeling like disappointed from a certain experience, but it can also be another elated experience. I don't want you to think about the combination of those. So let's say you're dreaming to fly somewhere, and the experience is such that, I don't know, you get a letdown, or you get, I don't know, you didn't get to see the view, but then there was something you were completely not expecting, either at the airport, that was a nice experience for you, or somebody, people that you didn't think would come to greet you. I'm not talking about like demonstration and protests and threats for your life, you know. Um, and those things occurring side by side to the fact that, oh, you were so looking forward to the flight, and the flight was just, I don't know, boring, or you were tired, or even nauseous. And this is just the essence of Neptune. Okay, I also want you to think about a wedding, because the juxtaposition of kind of like a mythical moment, and the expectation for it to be a mythical moment, and the actual experiences of people, where they can have the conjunction of elated feelings, dreamlike feelings, almost dissociated from the experience, because how exciting that is, at the same time with extreme anxiety, or a complete like, I thought it's going to be like this and I don't feel anything. And those can really transform very quickly. So I did not expect it to be like this, and then suddenly something you didn't expect, you let go of the expectation, but it's usually because you're feeling like I'm let down. Then it opens the path for something you didn't expect, you didn't see coming, to bring in an elated state. Those are the Venus-Neptune cycles, um, and and those are about the themes that you will be experiencing. As usual, allow yourself to feel the grief, the missing, the longing, and be authentic about your desire and authentic about your longing. Your longing is a hidden wealth of where you weren't aware that you're longing for this. Good morning. Now you're going to manifest things, and you're going to manifest them more authentically the more you are true to your longing, true to the authenticity of, I'm longing for this. Okay, there's something here that I'm longing for. Get into the experience. Neptune is still sextiling Pluto. Pluto is all about authenticity. It's all about unraveling. It's all about a discovery. And here's the discovery of the mystery of your longings, and in a very Neptunian and unexpected way, those longings are going to manifest for you. So you gotta surrender the form in which they happen, or even the people or in the circumstances in which they happen. And another thing, I was wondering where am I going to drop this, so I'm going to drop this here. I know I did a video a while ago about a certain synastry. And this certain video actually starts with amidst Me Too. I was very, very hurt by someone who violated my boundaries, and he was trying to fix things, and he would always talk with stories. Now, because I'm Dutch, he didn't say the name. He said, oh, there is this one person that was always looking to solve crimes and this and that. And then he turned over to the other side. That was his view of this. And on and on. Okay, I was too pissed at him to even listen. I didn't understand what is he alluding to? What does he want to say with that? Um, and that was, kind of like before the Me Too. And then, life went on. When I was in between houses in Netherlands, I read this article about a journalist that was shot dead. And immediately I think it looks like the police has something to it. And I was doing channeling experience. So let's try. And I was, that I got a response was shocking enough. And I'm not saying that this is channeling. I'm not like, please take these things with a grain of salt. Um, the right information comes at the right form with the right people and so on. But I would go through certain experiences where I did, and I had no idea who this person was. So it was a journalist that looked for like, resolving crime. I had no idea who the person was, and I kind of received things and stuff like that. And I guess usually when you try to channel a person, you know who that person is, and I just didn't know. So it took me time to understand the omens, and so eventually, when I would go back to Israel, I would look at the chart and I would look at the relationship between this journalist. And when I got the message like, this is the person you need to know, and the relation between basically this journalist, crime researcher, exposing criminals that was putting someone in jail, and the person who was put in jail was Cor Van Hout. So that was the video that I saw, the synastry that I did for the Peter Adefries and Cor Van Hout. And I want to drop something now, which with the co-presence of Saturn and Neptune, I think is going to be very interesting. And I coined the term Cor Van Hout astrologically. What do I mean by that? Part of what was showing up in this synastry between a person who is looking to persecute those who make offenses, and very lethal offenses, kidnapping, murder, torture, like horrid stuff, and the person that he's persecuting, they become besties. She genuinely did. It was a real story that happened. And that both of them had a Saturn Pluto hard aspect. I think one had an inconjunct and the other had the square. The Spirit Adefries had a square, and it was around the Saturn transit. So the Saturn Pluto hard aspects. And right now we're like just opening a cycle. The Saturn is going to sextile Pluto. So we're not even having this. But for some of you, Pluto is squaring Saturn. Okay, so the Pluto squares Saturn, but conjoining with a Uranus harmonious aspect to the Moon and good Mercury's. Why do I coin this as a Cor Van Hout? The essence of the type of relation that I call the Cor Van Hout is such that the form of the radical acceptance that your soul was searching to experience in this life is so radically different from what you would expect, that it literally goes against the grain of the structure of your telos, of your karma, and your life path is transformed by this. Okay, Saturn's structure and Pluto is transforming the hard aspect. The square is a crisis. Those who were born in 1998 have a Saturn Pluto square. Okay, so those guys, upon the Saturn return, which I think is occurring, yay, are having a Cor Van Hout. And again, you do need favorable aspects. Just the crisis of consciousness is not going to do it. It's more, you need the conjoining of radical acceptance, which is the Moon Uranus, particularly the Moon Uranus. Okay, Moon Uranus harmonious aspects conjoining Pluto-Saturn square. Why is it coming up now? Maybe some of you are having that, and I coined this. This is a Cor Van Hout. Okay, a Cor Van Hout is the conjoining of this Pluto-Saturn very hard aspect and a harmonious Moon-Uranus square. It's basically the type of connection where that radical acceptance, that amiability, that is not necessarily a folie à deux. Folie à deux is more like Neptune, Venus, but that type of camaraderie is appearing from the other side of everything that you hold the dearest. Okay, the structure to your life. Okay, and this is something that the 1998 people are going through with the Saturn returns. So I think some of them already went through this. Some of them are going through this. Very likely. Okay, so you're going to with our hard transits, we usually summon the help. Okay, we usually summon people that come up. I'm doing a Pluto square, so all the people, all the shout out to 63 to 62 to 60. The shout out to the 60s people, from Jonathan Geffen to who's no longer with us, to the children of 73, which is basically the children that were during the oil crisis in 73, to the people who were the veterans of that time. Those are the Pluto sextiles to me. So the Pluto, like, it's just kind of like, oh, round call for all the Pluto sextiles, being surrounded with them for my Pluto square. Okay, because I'm going to a Pluto square. It's a hard aspect, but there I get all this help. And so the Cor Van Hout is basically you're going through an extremely hard aspect while the help is coming from a completely unexpected place. And this is posing a challenge to a constitution, but it's also transforming the structures in your life. And this is not. I had a telepathic argument actually from an astrologer that said it's the Venus squares Venus, and Venus square Venus. This definitely means there is a conflict between values, so it's totally founded to say this. That being said, the outer planets give us the reason. Okay, so I'm not saying and also I would not be surprised that those type of relations arrive with the Venus sextile Venus, with the Venus, like you wouldn't expect to be on par with the values. By the way, anybody who has Jupiter in Capricorn, if you look to astrocyclically make a synastry with Adolf Hitler, you're going to be receiving for the Jupiter conjunct Jupiter, you're going to be receiving that you are spiritually compatible and view things philosophically in a similar fashion, especially about what is right and what is wrong. Okay, so there I said it. It's not like the Cor Van Hout is kind of like seeing that with kind of like somebody you would totally consider like, I don't know if Adolf Hitler, but definitely on the other side of what you deem as true, what you deem as good, and so on. So I'm totally getting that like Venus square Venus thingy, but this is more than the Venus square Venus because it counts. The essence of it is because you're going through. It's a part of the crisis that you're going through to have those radical acceptances with this type of person or relation. So this is the Cor Van Hout. You can watch the Cor Van Hout synastry and period freeze that I did. Yeah, I literally coined that as a term. So I guess now like, oh, it's finally out. I'm saying that. I was like, why would nobody would understand what I'm talking about? Okay, now I explain that. As Venus wisdom on a Venus day. So with this Venus Neptune, we can expect If you're having a Cor Van Hout, you're going to either have a moment around this connection. And by the way, we'll have Pluto squaring my natal Saturn in about a decade. So I'm scheduled to have a Cor Van Hout. Pluto's already in Aquarius, and I ran into something where I'm having a Cor Van Hout. So, and I don't even understand why, but I guess with the years I will understand. So I have suspicion already, but those of you who have or are in those type of situationships, then Venus conjuncting Neptune can unravel, dissolve, or reveal mysteries. Or Neptune, spying, or organized crime, a clandestine type of offenses, stuff like that. Um, but it's also, yes, what you deem wrong, and is a potent challenge to the psyche, but it's also a part of the things that could be unraveled to you, as Venus will be sextiling Pluto and conjuncting Neptune. So we might have like, you know what? If you have a story like this, if you have a Cor Van Hout that you are able to talk about, then you can drop, the synastries, and I might do an episode like taking a look at this type of relations. So, yeah, this is another thing that is happening. It's those weird type of comrades and weird type of friendships that involving that type of crisis. Any more for today? For today's Venus, I think we are in between eclipses. Venus was ruling Ketu, so yeah, shedding the old way of balancing things. And now Venus, yeah, it's kind of like we'll be just opening a cycle with Neptune by the April eclipse. Both of them are considered quite benefic to the view of women. I'm not saying necessarily they're going to be benefic on the physical plane, but definitely to the view of Venusian things, including relations. There is a deep psychology going around because Venus is about to conjoin Neptune. She is also going to sextile Pluto. So deep psychology. Okay, it's not for nothing that I dropped the Cor Van Hout concept, astrological concept of Cor Van Hout or Cor Van Hout today, because this is exactly this type of very deep psychology to do with relations, and also to do with kind of like on a mundane level. If you talk about spying, one of the things that I heard about spying and relationships is that there are spies that go undercover and do like seduction. And it's considered a risk factor because emotions do arise. So when you are like to seduce someone, emotions do arise, and this can affect the ability to receive information and so on and so forth. We are affected by the people that we're meeting, So of course, when there is an affinity or there's a relation, whether sexual or intimate, then naturally, people are being affected by this. And this poses a challenge to being, effective. And it has pros and cons, okay? It has pros and cons. But that is something that's also, I think, going to be relevant. I don't even know how. But I think, like, it is going to be relevant. And it definitely affects our it doesn't necessarily affect our judgment or affect our actions, but it affects our experience. And it is a crisis there also because Neptune is about longing. So I want to go back to the Cor Van Hout and now do it a little bit more like a professional edition, and the deep longing that arises for a relation where you genuinely and authentically seen, accepted, uh, not rejected, not judged. Um, and it's very weird to say that because that it was epitome. That it was about judgment. It was about a person persecuting and jailing someone. Okay, and the for the right reasons. So the juxtaposition of that with the deep longing to have an affinity where you're radically accepted, where there's not just a good rapport, but a genuine affinity and genuine compatibility, even in some cases, um, and that arising in those situations. And I have to say, you heard me talking a couple of times, also saw on Twitter, so kind of like, this painting with the flower where you say, loves me not. Uh, and when I was doing the kind of like meme around this, it was more like the celebrity crush. He loves me not. Does he sleep with expandable children or not? And also around the dropping of the Beyonce album, which was earlier today, the thinking of, oh, I'm longing for like music industry that's not enmeshed with those type of things and atrocities. So if it's not the singer, then it's the singer's relatable circle and stuff like that. Um, and a part of the things that one has to come into terms with, especially with the Neptune longings, is the fact that when you are in these circles, whether you're a whistleblower or an activist, or you're just doing your job, or you're just shining your shine, the tremendous loneliness and sense of isolation from these parts of societies that could be not unaffected but not directly touching. um, okay, most of society is enabling right now those things. The sense of isolation is so tremendous that you're bound to, oh, yes, you're bound to have kind of like a Cor Van Hout, okay? You're bound to have bonding experience with exactly those people that you're like, oh, I don't want to associate with those things, and yet to do you, to shine, the current structure is such that people are, as you are shining, you are met with those people that are associated with those things. Um, and this is really annoying, but it's also the essence of the experience of the Cor Van Hout. Okay, it is the understanding that a part of maybe what you came here to do puts you in a situation where right now, at least until we'll have like the abolishing of expendable children practices, that may or may not uncover even names that I speak, that I give reverence to. Okay? Um, this is also a part of what it is. I had it on a minuscule during the Me Too, um, but but it is like it's just what we're dealing with, and the juxtaposition of the longing for genuine connection and the surprising form of authentic connection where it does come to be experienced even on a Neptunian longing for type of, or present in its absence type of relation. So I believe we're gonna be having these stories. My ascendant is is very likely to be Pisces, because my sun is like really engulfed in this Venus and Neptune. So I'm kind of like, I'm caught up in the middle. so, I like, I'm like pinpointed. So those of you who have these, whether it's Pisces or it's Virgo ascendants, around these degrees, kind of like the last degrees of Pisces, that are kind of like engulfed between the dream world and the longing for relation and actual experiential, you know, stuff, could be the contemporary, you know, people that are relating to this on a more personal level. Will we see scandals like in the news? I don't know. I mean, Neptune is not doing much with Mercury right now, so I don't predict that to be like something the whole world is going to share. It's very likely if you're watching this episode, then it reached you, but I don't predict that to necessarily go viral on like a spoken level, especially because Venus is invisible. So we're not talking about this very much, but many people might experience that or delve into the deep psychology of relations and how this, just when we are doing the right things, so whether we pursue justice or we're activists, just at this time, we're also isolated. We're also saying a lot of no's. We say a lot of no's, um, basically to maintain our path. And then comes this experience where you wouldn't like the deprivation of a sense of connection, of nourishment, of fulfillment, of joy, of laughter, of all the good things. And because when you are doing those type of life paths, there is an existential gap between you and a lot of the world. There is like it is just exists, because most people don't understand what you're talking about. They may get it in like a decade, 2 decades, but meanwhile you can. It's they're good friends. Sometimes they understand you to various degrees, whereas they care about you. But there's a certain experiential level where and the deprivation from this type of sense of connection uh, through this isolation is leading to these Cor Van Houts. Okay, and we also want to take this to speak about this, to shed light on that as we come to abolish. I'm about to sneeze. The the praxis of expandable children, how prevalent it is, and how this system works. And as we come to act on this, there are going to be a lot of Cor Van Hout involved. There are going to be a lot of the conjoining of genuine grief with genuine joy that we are finally doing this, but genuine grief over the unexpected loss. As well is something that is very difficult, and yeah, there's also a Venus wisdom on a Venus day, and also important to understand that a lot of the people that are drawn into these types of kind of predatory cycles basically it's the longing for relation, and this longing is the result in many cases of a certain trauma, of something being absent. It can be something as simple as growing without, let's say, one of the parents, or having a loss of like a family member. Grief, unfortunately, is very tied to experience. As a Me Too veteran, I can say all of the cases that I was exposed to of kind of like Me Too cases in academia, were of people that either had very deep connection with the father and then soon after he died, or a while after he died, or the father wasn't present in the picture for certain reasons or others. As that was like father wounds can be mother wounds, and in many cases it's father wounds meets mother wounds, which is why it's so important to tend to those. Um, and even in cases where they were not like Me Too Academia, even kind of like lethal cases, there was tremendous grief, like grieving over a brother. And sometimes it would be like a brother, and grief is. I live in Israel; like, people die in wars and stuff like that. So it's almost normal for people to have this tremendous grief as a result of war, but doesn't have to be war. And those types of loss or grief, unfortunately, were tied maybe through blame or shame over that which you have no control over, to those type of undesired experiences. If you take into account that the medical welfare world is predatory over families and isolating people, and then these people do commit suicide. Okay, they scare you that if this person won't take this and that pill, they will kill themselves, they will die, something terrible will happen to them, and they would need even more pills to balance it. So can you see the abuse? It's just because it's medicine doesn't mean it's not abusive. Okay? Just because it's a medical person, trained medical person that tells you that doesn't mean it's not abusive. Okay? In many cases, the people who say that don't even get the depth of the abuse themselves because they're working in slavery conditions. And you say, oh, but they make so much money. Time. Saturn rules time, not just money. Time. If you don't have time to think about what you're doing, to process what you're doing, to change the course of what you're doing, you're enslaved by the merit of this time that's been less and less accessible for you until you take the time to make the time. These are the Saturn transits. So a lot of the people that are grieving people genuinely did persecute their own family members. Okay, and the desire is not for them to be like ashamed, but to have a point of interference, to raise awareness to the topic, and to share the knowledge, and to and to get at that. A lot of people tried, talked about yesterday. We would not have the paper if not for all these people, some of which sacrificed their lives to expose these things and to bring this into fruition, so that you will even read even so much as one research that negates the convention or consensus. This is kind of like a whole other video. But this is also touching at where the grief over the loss of a person imbued with the medical welfare system, which we think is like the mental health system or medical system, can lead to shame and undesired trauma. Okay, or abusive relationship and stuff like that. And this is not karma. It is because this wasn't addressed, and because the person never got to overcome or forgiving oneself is a process, but understand that they made these decisions with the information that they had, and to change this we need to raise awareness, and we need to make sure more people know about this, and so this shame is destructive, and this is what we don't want to happen. So Venus Neptune cycle is also closure in relations where somebody was either religiously or psychologically or medical warfarely persecuted by their own families, by their own loved ones, by their own friends. Everybody like, oh, this person needs help, and that help, that very help, was the reason that they died or unalived themselves, and so on. People kind of have difficult to coming to terms with that. For some people, this is going to be Venus is also sisterhood. You want to think about a sister or brother, someone that you may have lost, whether to suicide, um, because of the way you view things, because of what you were indoctrinated, because somebody with uniforms that studied a lot of years to get this paper um, is telling you something, and you take that over what the person who is dealing with it, with things, is saying. Um, and again, it's the rule of thumb here is like you always want to take into account that the situation could be worse, and that the person that, like, the trauma is about not being able to say yes, no, and maybe, as you see fit. Um, so what you don't want to downplay is the no. Okay, we don't want to downplay is the no. This is why informed consent in mental health and in medical field is so important, other than the fact that you should just include informed consent. Um, so for some of you, this is also coming to terms with certain losses, but also perhaps having a point of compassion, or maybe listening to me talking about this if you're watching me. You understand what can be done. You understand um, what is present in its absence, and this is the medical field. In this case, there is medical field. There are healing types that do help people. Um, it's missing, it's present in its absence because of corruption, because of things that are not only a mistake in the worldview. So that's another one on kind of like a more scientific, but also very experiential, very going to touch the lives of a lot of you. And this, of course, is going to touch at your 401ks, at your investments portfolio. Venus is also, assets. So if it's kind of like in your 8th house, you can understand where all the money was. Like, why did something go bankrupt? Why did something seem like a good idea at the time was not such a good investment? And at the same time, you might be exposed to something that could replace it, or to information that you didn't know, or just when you were thinking about to give up the medicine as an entire field, you understand that, oh, there are the whistleblowers, there are the people that actually make medicine that you can actually learn from. They're just not found in the places that you were looking for them. Or even just where you're about to give up on the system, you're met with whistleblowers, like within the system. Many such things. And this, I think, sums it up. I have potatoes cooking up. Yay me. So, yeah, have a lovely Venus wisdom on a Venus day.